Hey everybody, it's LavenderTowne, and today I'm literally drawing more of the girls of r/menwritingwomen. As per usual, this is just for fun. I don't even think all these writers are even bad. These passages are just really wild and fun to draw. First up, this descriptor from Michael Gruber's Tropic of Night. "What a guy," she crowed, and got up and sat in his lap, and kissed him on the mouth. She really did have the most excellent mouth, Paz reflected, like a teacup full of hot eels. So usually I wouldn't do a description that really only has one line, but the term "a teacup full of hot eels" to describe someone's mouth is now permanently etched into my gray matter, so we have to try to visualize this in a way that makes sense. So naturally the first thing I wanted to do was capture her eel lips. I also wanted to have her tongue kind of out because I assume that that's what we're also alluding to, and I just really wanted it to look like a cute, adorable Lovecraftian monster. I gave her a adorable little like old school puffy sleeved top, and I just wanted her to look sort of energetic and playful. All I really know about this character is that she said "what a guy," and that's all I really have to work with. Now typically, like I said, I only go for descriptions that have like a lot more description to it, but I just couldn't resist with this one, so I tried to kind of put 3 eels along her top lip, and they are like fully sentient. I also tried to show that they're hot, with little steam coming off the sides of them. This has got to be like a jokey description, right? Because there's just no way that someone would write that as if it was like legitimately alluring. The thing about hot eels also that like really threw me off is like, first of all, an eel is quite big to be fitting multiple of them in a teacup, and then on top of that, they would almost always be cold. So I don't know if like they've been boiled or what the deal is. Like it's such a strange descriptor, because like usually when you're trying to write in something being like something else, it's so that you can help the audience really like understand from a perspective that they might be more likely to be familiar with. But this is like something that I don't think anyone has ever been familiarized with, so it's a lot more confusing than just saying she was like a good kisser or something. Like at least your audience is likely to have encountered that. Not to put the author on blast, but this does kind of sound like the way you would describe a kiss if you yourself did not know what a good kiss was like, and you were just trying to think to yourself like, what is like the most slimy descriptor I could do, and then he came to eels in a teacup and then was like, well, eels are cold and that's not appealing, so I'll just say that they're hot eels. Like it's baffling. I really love this one. I think she looks so creepy and fun, and she looks like she's got a good attitude, so I think she could really, overcome the fact that her lip is eels. Next up, this perplexing passage. "The luscious secretary was young, healthy, and slender, as well as tall, haughty, and skimpily dressed. Those elements multiplied, like 3 times 3, to a total greater than their sum. Her taut skin glowed with the light rising from the furnace of her ovaries. Her long black hair was as full and voluptuous as the rest of her, and her breasts appeared perfectly delectable, of such appropriate shape and tasteful size that I would have been happy to be reincarnated as her brazier. Yes, I looked, because there was no way a man can not look, is there?" First of all, obviously what stood out to me the most was the furnace of her ovaries comment. This one really stood out to me because on top of like being really creepy descriptor wise, it's also just written in such a funny way. Like we're just layering on adjectives. It's just very like weirdly, like there's a lot of words describing her. I still can't really picture her because most of what he's saying is just like she was hot and had a hot body and there was a hotness about her, and it's like, okay, sure. What I did really picture when I read this was the fact that her ovaries are glowing through her skin. I'm actually not sure what the metaphor is here. Like before with the eels one, obviously we're having a good time. We're taking the metaphor super literally, so I have an opportunity to draw a girl with eels for lips. This is one where like I actually don't know if I was trying to earnestly illustrate this and incorporate that into my illustration. I don't know how I would show that her ovaries are making her skin glow. But luckily we don't have to worry about that because I'm going to do it literally. So we know that she's laughing and she has a haughtiness as well. girl. So I just wanted her to look really confident and in control of herself. She is a secretary, so I tried to give her like pseudo business appropriate attire, but obviously she's skimpily dressed. I hate this as a descriptor because like it doesn't really mean anything. Like, first of all, you have to know what the POV character considers skimpy. It would be a lot more helpful if he said like a specific skimpy article of clothing, because I feel like it's easier to picture in your head a skimpy top or a skimpy skirt versus like a skimpy outfit. Like, skimpiness can come from anywhere, and I don't really understand what she could be wearing in this office setting. So I just kind of went with like a short skirt and a low-cut sweater. I think I went so far in the skimpiness that maybe it doesn't look business appropriate anymore, but we're just gonna go for it. And then the lighting I got to have a lot of fun with because I have to show those glowing ovaries of hers. I kind of love this one because I think that like I don't think I've ever heard the ovaries referenced in like a weird like pervy description of a girl, so it was a fun diversion from the more standard other parts of the description. This next segment is from a book called Suzanne Delage by Jean Wolfe. A girl of 15 or so came out of the store and, smiling but intent on her own concerns, walked quickly past us and down the street. Her hair was of a lustrous black, and her complexion as pure as milk, but it was not these that for a moment enchanted me, nor the half afraid to press the soft angora of her sweater, nor the little waist I might have circled with my 2 hands. Rather, it was an air of vivacity, coupled with an innocence and intelligence that were hers alone. To the woman beside me, I said, "What a charming child. Who is she?" So it's pretty clear to me why this passage got selected to be put into this Reddit. It has 3 of the most like sort of iconic staples of the Reddit and like red flags that end up getting a piece of writing put in this community. So the first one that's probably the most obviously disturbing is the fact that the POV character is a much older man who's describing a young girl in like a very creepy way. Like, that much is obvious. On top of that, we also have like some weird anatomy confusion. So the idea that like even if this guy has some serious yaoi hands, being able to completely encircle somebody's waist with your hands is like, that's just too small. That is really, really small. Even when people are picking up infants, sometimes their fingers don't touch on all sides. So the idea that a 15-year-old's waist could be this little is quite disturbing, and probably the thing that I emphasized the most when I was drawing her. And then the final hallmark, of course, was the segment that I didn't even really want to read, but is a total hallmark of this community, which is when a female character's boobs are given like an emotion. In this case, her boobs are afraid. So, of course, I had to add a little anthropomorphized face onto her sweater, just to show that they're afraid, I guess. And then I tried to capture this like total manic pixie dream girl concept of like her state of mind. She has like all of these wonderful qualities. She's somehow innocent and intelligent and all of these things, and caught up in her own affairs. It's so creepy that he says all of this in his head, and then out loud what he says is like calling her a child. Don't love it, I'm not gonna lie. We did get a rare instance of a pale character's skin color being compared to a drink, in this case milk. I color dropped it directly, and it didn't look as crazy as I thought, probably because I warmed it up with some blush on her face. If I had just stuck with the milk color, she would look quite pale and emaciated indeed, but I just can't help myself with adding blush, especially because her sweetness and innocence is such a big factor for the POV character in this passage. I can't imagine why. Honestly, I do hope that in the future, as writers continue to make stories, we have less of these types of descriptors of young girls by adult male characters, unless it's like the point of the story. I think it's actually especially concerning and insidious when it's thrown in there in a mix of like a normal story, because it just normalizes it way more and it doesn't really have anything to say about it. But that's just how I feel about it. Next up, we have this passage from Perfume by Patrick Suskind. She was indeed a girl of exquisite beauty. She was one of those languid women made of dark honey, smooth and sweet and terribly sticky, who take control of a room with a syrupy gesture, a toss of the hair, a single slow whiplash of the eyes, and all the while remained as still as the center of a hurricane, apparently unaware of the force of gravity by which they irresistibly attract to themselves the yearnings and the souls of both men and women. And she was young, so very young, that the flow of her allure had not yet grown viscous. Her full limbs were still smooth and solid, her breasts plump and pert as hard-boiled eggs. And the planes of her face, brushed by her heavy black hair, still had the most delicate contours and secret places. So this one's a little bit different. It's a little prosier, and I think a lot of the creepiness is actually like kind of obscured in the fact that it's relatively well written, I would say. So I do think this one is probably a little more intentional about its creepy description, but I did really want to do it just because of the hard-boiled egg comment. That immediately put a crazy image in my head, and I absolutely had to draw her. Also, the fact that he describes her as sticky, which is usually not an alluring quality. When I think of stickiness, it does not make me think of a girl with irresistible charisma. I have no idea what he means when he says that her face has secret places, so I decided to just put the little mark that you see in Animal Crossing when there's something that you can dig up, like a secret treasure. That's probably not what he had in mind, but it did make her look kind of cute, like she's got like stickers or like scars on her face. Her stickiness was kind of hard to convey. I feel like she just looks like kind of like clammy and sweaty, which is not altogether pleasant, I don't think. This also has one of my big pet peeves, which I think I've talked about on the channel before, but this idea that a girl is being looked at by absolutely everyone, but she's somehow unaware of it. I just don't think that's as common as authors like to think. It just gives me real like One Direction, you don't know you're beautiful vibes, and a lot of the time I think teen girls especially are more likely to think that people are always watching and judging them. So if people actually are always watching them, I think a lot of girls would actually be quite aware of that, but that's more of a personal pet peeve. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this silly little video. If this got you in the mood to try and improve your writing, the sponsor of today's video might be able to help. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of online classes, with topics ranging from animation, music, photography, entrepreneurship, and more. There are so many classes to explore, so you can try new things, or go deeper into a skill you already love. It can be overwhelming sorting through video lessons online to try to find what you need, but Skillshare takes care of that, curating classes together in learning paths. I started on Skillshare's Self-Care Essential Learning Path, and I'm absolutely loving it. Like many artists, I can tend to be overly critical and struggle with work-life balance. In Chidera's class on revolutionary self-care, I've already learned some really brilliant ways to reframe that critical voice in a way that is more motivating and healthy, and I'm so excited to continue into Jonathan Von Ness's course. Having these classes tied together in a way that makes sense makes the learning process even more enjoyable for me. The first 500 people to use my link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Join today and see what you can discover. A huge thank you to all of my patrons, including Grexius, Olia, Liddy Savior, Roro, Rayons, Vorpalmat, Brandon Stark, CB, Crosby F, Lucy Yamajiki, Liv Liv, Salty Jackrabbit, Ravens Crow, Zosalot, T-Hill Music, Jabber Dabber Doo, Kadaria, Deadly Nightshade Art, Astral Fox Art, The Expressive Poker Face, Subaki, Cutie Pie, Ruined Raincrow, Ice Cream Pal, Cola, JJ Jade, and of course, Lib 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 Lib.